How about now? It's good you probably didn't hear anything that I needed. I didn't say anything that you needed to hear. um, I'm over here talking to myself apparently. So hopefully that's better. Someone let me know. And now I'll share with you what I was sharing. So I'm waiting for the comments to catch up. Let's see. Good afternoon, Will. Seems to be a sound issue. Hopefully we got that fixed. And then good afternoon, Jane. Good morning, I think, Jamie. And then, yep, now you can hear me. Yeah, it helps if you turn the microphone on, huh? So while I was here talking to myself, I started the day by saying I didn't feel very inspired. And I'm thankful for you today because it's because you're here and I know you're going to be here that I honored my commitment to you to show up here and share something. Today, I, like the past few days, I wasn't really sure where we were going to start. And I've taken a few notes. And what I was getting ready to share with you is that I've covered. Well, so let me back up and say that I did create a Facebook group. I've seen some of you join me there already. If you're just joining us for the first time, then the group, let me back up, captions, and the group is, here we go. It's the Clarity Collective. And I'm looking at the tag in the link. I don't know if you can click the link there or not, but you'll see that it says Clarity Collective members. So if you have trouble finding it, just let me know, dan@progrowthva.com, and I'll make sure you get in. But I'd love to have you join us there. Now, here's the plan. I'm going to continue these live streams on my personal Facebook feed. From there, I ask you to join this community where we can continue the conversation. And that's somewhat of a safe space where I'm collecting people. No, collectively sharing our journeys in that space with those people who have joined me here and others that I encounter that are just on that same journey. Anyway, I hope that you can join us there, offer your support and encouragement and inspiration to others, share some things that you're working on, talk about challenges that you may be facing, and again, continue the conversations that we've had here. I don't know where it's going to go yet, but let's start there. And hopefully, I'll provide some additional content in that community that'll be helpful to you based on what I see. And we'll just continue building community together. Get clear on what it is that we're trying to do. So the Clarity Collective, hence the name. So where I was headed was going to talk about the 7 career questions that essentially we've talked about over the past week or so. Some of the topics that I have discussed with you relate to 7 career questions that you can ask yourself. So if you're just joining us for the first time today, you've come at a good time. This is a brief overview of what we've talked about and sort of where we're headed. And then if you are just joining me, I'll throw it out there that these conversations are based on my own journey and searching for work that I love based on what I know about myself and creating the life that I want. So many times we get stuck in these phases of life and we feel trapped, whether it's the cubicle farm or a career that you've pursued based on the education you pursued. And there's so many people out there that just feel stuck where they're at and that like there's no way out. And I'm telling you that I believe that there's a better way. I know there's a better way. And whatever it is for you, I hope that I can help you uncover things that'll move you in that direction. Okay. So before I get into the questions, let me check the chat. Yep. Okay. Perfect. Jamie said BS, and I don't know why. Let's see. It's hard to keep up with the comments. And good morning, Angela. It's hard to keep up with time zones and where all these people are coming from. But I love you too, and we'll continue. So the 7 questions. Let me go back to that. So here we go. Can I stick with a job until retirement? Based on what we've talked about already, I hope that you know the answer is most likely not. You know, today's work environment has changed from what we knew only well, it's been longer than a few years, but not that long ago, where people would go to work for large companies, big corporations, and right now there are very few opportunities where you could actually make that happen for you. And my question to you there is that really what you want? Thinking about the changes that you've experienced in your lives to this day, would you want to pursue one career path, one job, until you were able to retire? One of those exceptions, of course, is the military, and many of you come from that community, so I get it. I was there, and that is one of the few exceptions to the rule in our current current environment aside, but in our current economic environment, most people will shift jobs 14 to 16 times in their lifetime. It's just changed. So the question there is, would you want to? And is it even possible now for most people? And I'd say that the answer is highly unlikely. So the next question, we talked about change at the beginning of our conversation. Is change inevitable? What do you think? I think the answer is clearly yes. Whether it's job, whether it's satisfaction, whether it's societal, whether it's pandemic, change, I believe, is inevitable. And how we respond to that is important. In order to respond to it well, then it goes back to needing to understand yourself. Yesterday, I spoke about the 85% and 15% rules. 85% of everything we do is internal. We have innate skills and abilities, drives, and personalities that we can affect, we can focus on improving, we can bring to the surface that will allow us to do better, whatever that looks like for you. So knowing those things, knowing what your strongest non-changing ability and skills are, I'm reading from 2 sets of notes here, is important to the process because change is inevitable. Let's see here. Where are we at? Not needing to hear what I'm saying. Okay. Jamie said BS, and then I asked for clarification. She said not needing to hear what I was saying. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I will tell you that it was negative self-talk, probably, some of it. And I corrected myself and shared with you anyway. But I just wasn't feeling inspired this morning. And until this happened with the microphone incident, and all of a sudden I found some new inspiration. So that was fun. It's all about mindset. That's right. Will says, back to my comment about the military and being a lifelong career, absolutely. It's only for people who join before a certain point now, because like everything, the military is changing, and young people today, or people who are just entering the service, won't have the same opportunities. They won't get the same benefits, the same pensions, retirement, whatever you want to call it, as it used to be. So, what's my next question here? Let's see. This is a good one. I'll let that sink in for a minute. How can I keep my job from controlling my life? Do you suffer from this? I did. You need to decide what kind of life you want and then be able to plan your job around it. And I think that brings up a good point. I haven't really discussed the definitions beyond career. Um, I'd encourage you at this point to just take a look at what the dictionary defines for career, vocation, and job. Career, vocation, and job. And understand the differences. And we'll talk about it hopefully in the coming days, but um, take a moment and do that for yourself. And that reminds me, yesterday I asked you a few questions, and I hope that you've had an opportunity to reflect on those. In fact, that's something I'd ask you to share in our Facebook group. If you have taken time, I'd like to know, what did you discover about yourself and asking yourself those questions yesterday. Anyway, back on track. How can I keep my job from controlling my life? So everything we've been talking about so far has to do with planning your life around your job versus letting your job control your life. It's a different way of looking at things from what I would say most people think about. You have to be able to balance priorities. I talked about this the other day too, is finances, spirituality, health, physical fitness, family. All of those things are important. And if you let your job control your life, you will suffer in those other areas. And so I encourage you to think about all of the aspects of your life and figure out what you need to rebuild, what you need to strengthen, what you need to spend more time in, and look at, how can I balance all of those things? And what does that lead me to? That leads me to work I love, in order to be able to continue to improve in all of those areas and continue to build the life and the work that you want. All right, I won't belabor that. Let's see, I have a couple more questions to get to, and we're on a schedule here. At least you probably are. What if I don't want another corporate job? Yeah, so many of us transitioning from the military, at least in my experience, as an example. So military is just a corporate structure, a little bit different, but essentially it's a corporate structure. I knew before I departed that I didn't want to go back to that experience, that life. It just was sucking the life out of me. I think I mentioned that to you yesterday as well. So what if you don't want to do it? I'm going to tell you that you are not alone. In fact, there's a ton of veterans that I talk to on a regular basis who have chosen to start their own business. And that could look a number of ways, but that's the reason is they just didn't want that feeling anymore. And I'm telling you, I was there. Some of you have already commented to me that you've been there or are there. And so that just ties in with the conversation. Just something to think about. What if you don't want another corporate job? There are ways for you to build a life and build work that you can enjoy that don't involve the corporate atmosphere. So think about it. And if you have questions, of course, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I can share my personal experiences, and not all of it's good, I promise you. All right, so we talked about this last week. What if I don't have a college education? What can I do? There are lots of opportunities today that don't require a formal education. I think I shared with you a story that I heard on Dave Ramsey's show about a young man in high school who had enhanced his self-taught skills to build an app that was netting him a ton of money each month. And the reason his father called into Dave Ramsey's show was to understand how he could help his son manage his money better. And the conversation started with a laugh from Dave Ramsey. He was like, what kind of money are we talking about? And it was an unrealistic figure for most people to comprehend. I want to say, don't quote me on this, that it was over $100,000 a month from an app development that he had been involved in. And that doesn't require any formal education. There are opportunities out there. The trades are so short-handed that if you like to work with your hands, you want to enjoy being outdoors, at least while you still have the energy and some youthfulness left, then the trades are a great place to explore doing that, and they pay well. You can get some security through positions like that if security is a concern for you. Either way, there are options for you. And we can talk about security and work on a different day, but there's options for you too. Um, think about if you create something as an entrepreneur, when you build it and you look at creating multiple revenue streams that far exceed or have the potential to far exceed anything you could earn in a corporate environment, how would you feel? And I'm not there by any means, but I'm working towards it. And I hope one day to be able to share that with other people. And again, continue to share my experiences with you. So just something else to think about. Let's move on. I'm sending out resumes and applying everywhere, but I get no response. Now, this is a question that some of you may have been asking yourselves or have encountered yourselves. Some of you who are still in the military working on transition may not have experienced this yet. And that's okay, because it's an important thing to look at. There are better ways to the job search. Only 15% so let me correct my statement here. So only about 12% of the available jobs are actually advertised. And some of them, even if they're advertised, aren't truly available. As you've probably seen in the government realm, there's a requirement to post those jobs, but they've already been filled long before the posting was ever published. So you have to look at being creative, and I'll go to my friend. So think guerrilla marketing tactics. And if you've not checked out what guerrilla marketing has to offer, it can be applicable to business, it can be applicable to job search, it can be applicable to many things throughout your life and career and vocation approach. But it takes a little creativity and a little dedication, but there are ways to improve your job search. And that's actually part of the course that I'm preparing to start offering. So I'm not going to go into detail on that today. If you want to learn more about what you can do if you're facing that right now, do reach out to me and I'd share some more with you there. If we want to have a conversation about it, we can do that, but I don't want to spend much time on it today. Question number 7. My work and resume history forced me into a rut. What do I do? We've talked about this a few times now, and this requires, again, looking internally. But beyond that, it looks at what skills do you have, what experiences do you have that you'd like to pursue that may not reflect in your current resume or your most recent job history. And it requires that you then reposition those things in a way that brings them to the surface on your resume. That is one way to work through that. Your work history and your resume do not define you. You define you. You have the choice to pursue anything that you want to, with few exceptions. I would say that for me, I'm 45. I probably am not going to go back to school to become a medical practicing doctor or an attorney. It requires too much time and energy on something that I don't know if I'm actually going to enjoy. So that might be an exception for you as well, and it's okay. But there are other ways. I think I've covered all of my questions today. So let's look back at the comments here. Yeah, great point, Will. So change and the speed of light are the only two universal constants. I've got another one for you. And it is that regardless of what career, what path you follow, um, there is 100% attrition rate. And that leads back to change. So I'll go with it. Let's see here. And Angela says, I definitely did when I was working a regular 9-hour shift and then came home to extra work I had created for some weird reason, then put off all the leisurely things I wanted to do and sacrificed to personal relationships. Yes, you've just described the life of so many people today. There are so many people out there that experience that. They come home from a job that they're miserable in, they bring it home with them, and that misery carries into the other aspects of their lives. And I'm telling you that that does not have to be true anymore. So tell me, what can I do for you today? I've talked about some questions that I think you can think about and use to guide you in your search, whatever that looks like for you. But what do you need today? What can we talk about? I'd like to spend a few more minutes with you if you're open to it, and I will look for your comments here as they start to come through. And if you're just joining us, I'd like to say, please feel free to join our Facebook community, The Clarity Collective. I'll put that back up here for you. Let's see here. There it is. I think you can see that. Hopefully you can see that. And I was sharing with Jamie earlier. I hope Jamie doesn't mind that I share this tidbit. It's nothing too personal, but Jamie and I were having a little bit of a chat earlier today. And if you haven't watched the movie Mr. Rogers, I encourage you to do it. First of all, I love Tom Hanks, and Tom Hanks did a wonderful job portraying Fred Rogers in that movie. But I think some of us face upper limit challenges sometimes, and we get distracted by what other people think of us, other people want of us, or what we believe other people want of us. And this is not specific to Jamie, by the way. But our conversation this morning just made me reflect. And part of the reason I'm here today, here with you on this live stream today, is that, I can't help but think back to a line in that movie where the reporter was asking Mr. Rogers. The reporter was Tom Hanks. Excuse me. I don't remember the reporter's name. Mr. Rogers was Tom Hanks, but the reporter asked him a question, and he said, "Do you know what the most important thing to me is right now?" And the answer was you, because I am here with you. I'm present with you right now. And I can't help but go back to that statement and think of how powerful that is when we spend time intentionally with other people. I am here right now, focused on you and how I might be able to serve you better. And while I'm here, you are the most important thing to me. And when I leave this, when you reach out to me, and I spend time answering your email or answering your messages, you, in that moment, are the most important thing to me. And I'm so very thankful to have those opportunities with all of you. Jamie, you're too kind. You can't ask for anything else from me at the moment. Yeah. And you're gonna work on providing us some answers to some questions in the group. Love it. Thank you. And I encourage all of you to think about those questions if you didn't take time yesterday to go back and look at them, or not look at them, but if you need to review, the video's still out there in the Facebook world. I think it actually made it to YouTube this time, so you can see it there. And if you do happen to see it on YouTube, I'd love if you'd just leave a quick comment, let me know you saw it. Of course, YouTube is the second largest search engine in the world. So if you have a personal experience or something that you've had an aha moment with in watching sharing this time with me each day, put something about that in there. Help other people find it. Of course, I can't ask for too much. I'd love for you to share these streams with your friends, with your circles. You never know when there's someone out there looking for something, and this might be the answer. I don't know. I don't have all the answers, but I can try and share these messages with you and spend this time with you each day. And I enjoy doing it. So I think that's it for today. Thanks so much for being here again. I'm trying to look better at the camera, to look at you. Bear with me as I learn all of these things. But yes, thanks so much for being here today. I hope that you found something today in today's message useful for you, applicable in your own lives. And I'll be back here tomorrow, same time. As always, don't hesitate to reach out to me. We'll see you then.